Monaco 2 is a tough game to recommend for anybody looking for a serious, well-designed heist experience. The first game nailed the balance between style and gameplay, but the sequel stumbles under the weight of its own experimental ambition. It tried to evolve, but in doing so it felt like it ruined the original charm, by switching to a 3D design that, while good looking, just doesn't feel good. There are a few moments where the game manages to be fun, but the overwhelming number of baffling design choices makes the whole experience feel like a complete waste of your time. The biggest problem with Monaco 2 is the gameplay. If you're somebody who's aiming for the leaderboards, it becomes obvious that most of these top scores are from cheaters. There is no legitimate way to collect multiple times more coins than a level will offer you, yet most of these runs show exactly that, thanks to the easily accessible tools like Cheat Engine. Even if you do ignore the cheating, there's still little incentive to actually play the game as a stealth game. The optimal strategy is not to sneak around, it's grabbing a wrench, busting through all of the doors, and checkpoint hopping your way to the end. It sounds ridiculous, but that's the most efficient way to play, largely because checkpoints de-aggro all of the guards that are chasing you. What starts as a stealth-focused heist quickly turns into a chaotic speedrun, breaking immersion and undermining the point of a heist game that should be centered around multiple ways to solve a case. Stealth is honestly discouraged, not just by the leaderboard incentives, but also how guards behave. The AI is extremely lax. If you're spotted, you just hide for a few seconds and they'll return to their routes like nothing ever happened. There's no real threat or consequence. I feel like it might have been more compelling to see facilities go into permanent lockdown when you mess up, raising the stakes. Instead, the game feels too forgiving, which makes it very unsatisfying to play. To make things worse, the placement of the tools and items feels excessive. Traps, lasers, and other obstacles are rarely a real threat, because you can just ignore them entirely by making it to the objective, and then once again, dipping in and out of checkpoints to reset everything that's chasing you. It turns the mechanics you would expect to see into a joke. The developers could redesign the level, but it just seems very weird that it's a feature. While the beginning levels are static, everything else is procedurally generated. The guard placements feel sporadic, and while the layout may shift slightly with different enemy locations with their altered paths, it still looks and feels the same each time. It doesn't really matter anyway, because you're just going to be running the same one solution over and over again. There isn't a challenge or reason to adapt when the game keeps rewarding the same brute force approach. Compared to the first game, the only thing that Monaco 2 really gets right is the music and the art style. Outside of those two, there's a lot left to be desired. On the higher level difficulties in daily heists, a few elements do shift around to give the illusion of variety, but it really does not add much. These changes are meant to create replay value, or turn levels into puzzles, but there's nothing satisfying about solving them, because there's nothing to actually solve here since the game as a whole has been designed with one solution. Each character is built around a specific role, and the game sets you up with a predefined crew that's supposed to work together in a stealth-based heist, either alone or with friends. That's the idea anyway. But again, once you understand how the systems work, there's little reason to follow that plan. You don't need multiple characters, you just need the fastest one. In this case, Sake, with her upgrade for the ceramic cat which negates damage while dashing. With that setup, you can grab a wrench and sprint through all of the levels. What's meant to be a carefully crafted 45-minute heist becomes a 9 to 14-minute speedrun. Ironically, that ends up being the most efficient and rewarding way to play. One solution, with very forgiving mechanics. I feel like each character should only get one life per level. If somebody gets caught, there should be the opportunity to rescue them, and the level could shift based on that. That would have made for a more dynamic and meaningful experience, especially with your friends. Instead, if you're downed, you just drop a heart that can be picked up, completely removing any real tension. I'm not sure if higher difficulties change that, because after finishing all of the default levels, I had next to no motivation to find out. After forcing myself to play through 6 hours, I was falling asleep. If you're looking for a heist game and you haven't checked out the original Monaco, it's definitely worth checking out, as it plays significantly better and shows far more thought in its level designs. Monaco 2 by comparison feels half-baked. The levels don't feel carefully constructed, and the overall design lacks direction. As a co-op heist game, there are better options. You get more out of something like Crime Boss Rockay City, or even Payday 2, though I would highly recommend you steer clear of Payday 3. That one has been a mess for quite some time in its own right. In the meantime, I really don't see Monaco 2 doing very well on its own with what it currently offers. In short, it was a boring experience both in story, gameplay, and also every single one of their mechanics.